Hey everybody, it's P. Turner, executive producer and host of the Break It Down Show. Hey, I've got a hell of an episode for you today. A friend of mine, Mikey Bee, who is a Special Forces medic, what basically means he's like a physician's assistant. He can do surgeries, everything. This guy is incredible. He's been on the show before, so this is one of those ones where you want to go back and listen to his first episode as well, because he's lived an incredible life full of just amazing experiences, and you just need to hear his story. Mikey worked for a world-famous brand until very recently, and then realized he didn't have that why. You'll hear him say that. I didn't have that why when I walked into work every day. And when I say world-famous brand, I mean world-famous brand. So he decided to go back to his roots, what makes him happy. He likes to create, and he likes shooting guns. So he started a company called Mojo Riot. And they make training targets that are three-dimensional and a lot more effective than paper. So you get to hear a little bit about that in the episode. By the way, right before we recorded this episode, we helped save a man's life. Freddy, who took a fall right here near where we were at, we were able to run to him and help get him stabilized. He had a heart thing, and I'll be damned. You know, we were able to not only help him get him in the hospital, but I parked his car somewhere else so it wouldn't get towed. And I just wanted to say thanks to Freddy, thanks to Mikey for the opportunity to help these guys out, and glad that I was in a position to do something helpful. So, Freddy, this episode goes out to you. Hey, for a lot of you, this is your first time hearing this episode. I'm just now realizing that. So let me just say this to you. The Break It Down Show is hella cool. Here's what we do. We have combat guys on. Yes, we have doctors and PhDs. And yesterday I interviewed Representative Michael Waltz from the 6th District in Florida, and we talked about Congress. We've had world famous people on. We've had people that just go get shit done. We've had stories you've never heard before. Do you know who Saddam Hussein's last best friend was? We do. It's Kelly Heiler. So you can have all of these great episodes. If you just look back in the catalog, if you want a recommendation, hit me up at P. Turner, Pete at Break It Down Show. I want to talk to you, and I'm glad to recommend something for you. We would love it if you gave our show a try beyond Mikey's show today, and let us know what you think. Hey, in general, I want you to go to Save the Brave, savethebrave.org. Click on the donate tab, put a small amount of money in, and maybe like, let's say, I don't know, $15. $15, we'll pull it out each month. We'll put that money to work helping veterans of PTSD. If you're not sure what to do and you're low on money, I understand all of that stuff. If veterans aren't your charity of choice, that's great. Get to work. There's a thing called Charity on Top. And when you want to give someone a gift, give them charity. Go to CharityOnTop.org and buy a gift card with charity. You send it to whoever it is. Let's say it's me in this case. Hey, Pete, here's $15. Put it towards whatever charity you want. I'll give it to Save the Brave. And now you've given charity as a gift, and I've taken that charity and put it to work for a charity of my choice. It's a really neat idea. Those are two things I support. I hope you guys enjoy today's show. Here comes Mikey Bee.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Mikey B, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Mikey B, back for your second visit. You had a long gap between times being able to talk because you worked for a major world famous brand, and your ability to speak freely was, and rightfully so. They're worried about a brand and they're not worried about your brand.
Yeah.
But now that relationship has come to an end, and you're working more than ever on your own things, which is, look, first off, for those of you who haven't heard Mikey B's earlier episode, yeah, that'll be in the show notes, and you should definitely listen to it because it's one of my favorite episodes. Quite honestly.
Oh, thank you, Pete.
You and I want to put the Letterman jacket on for a second. You and I have a lot of fucking combat time between the two of us. A lot. Mm-hmm. And we know Johnny Walker combined. And both of us want to take the Letterman jacket off. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. When I say this for the audience, everybody listening out there, a lot of combat guys are like, hey, you know what? I did that. But that chapter, I'm closing it.
100%. So this all started back when I retired almost 2 years ago. When I retired, I got a job working for a very major corporation as an executive. It was a great time. It was a great learning experience. I just didn't have a why every day. I really didn't. But I mean, I took a leap of faith because I didn't want to go back to doing what I was doing that I retired from. I didn't want to go overseas and contract. I didn't want to keep just pounding the pavement. I didn't want to do the traditional things that most soft guys do when they retire. I decided to pack up my stuff, move to Los Angeles, and give it a go working out here as an executive. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and I thought being successful was being Alex P. Keaton walking around in a corduroy jacket with elbow patches and a briefcase.
Yeah.
And I found out really quickly that being a yuppie really didn't fit my personality, or it didn't provide me with a why every day. I mean, it was a big struggle for me every day.
It's a hard lesson because you see this and until you've done these things, like there's so many things, I've realized this, there's so many things that guys like us have just simply never done or never done much of. Like, and this will sound crazy to the audience, but I know you'll instantly get this. I've barely done laundry in my life.
100%.
I've barely taken out the trash. You know, like these are things that we've always had someone do it for us. And that sounds bougie, but it's not. Like, we have a different job and everybody's like, hey, let's remove all the trash taking out of Mikey's life. When we poo in a bucket, there's someone else that's going to go burn that poo for us, you know? And the corporate world's the same thing. You're like, oh yeah, I should go get myself a high-end corporate gig. But then you get there and you realize, hey, you guys got a lot of shit hanging on my back. Like, I can't operate with all these, you know, all these restrictions.
Yeah, there was a lot of restrictions. I wasn't allowed to really talk about what I did or, you know, the brand. Like, everything I did was under a lot of scrutiny. There was a lot of oversight, more so than I had in the military, even working in units doing, you know, secret stuff. I had a lot of scrutiny on my public behavior, my professional behavior. And to be honest, man, I worked around a lot of rich kids who have never really worked hard a day in their lives.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from the Break It Down Show, checking in real quick to ask you this. John, Scott, and I all support Save the Brave with our time, our location, our effort, and our money. Each month we give a small amount. Do the same with us. Go to savethebrave.org. Click on the donate tab, pick an amount that you want to come out each month, and they will handle all the rest. I stand behind these folks. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show.
To be honest, man, I worked around a lot of rich kids who have never really worked hard a day in their lives. Their daddies got them the jobs, you know, their daddies got them into school. They came from significant generational wealth, and it was just really disgusting being around a lot of these guys. They have very little character. They have no backbone.
When you say little character's hard, right? Like, you have to know that you can persevere through an impossible problem or withstand the failure that comes with not getting it right. Because you and I both have met significant failure by shit. We just had a whole report come out of the Washington Post saying that everybody was lying to everybody about Afghanistan and Iraq and everything. So, you know, we've met that adversity. Are you saying these guys don't have that in them?
It's just a daily fundamental character flaw that a lot of these big time execs had. You know, I truly believe it. It's my litmus test here in the civilian world now. The way someone talks to a waiter or someone doing customer service for you really shows you their character. And I never thought in a million years, being a guy coming from the soft background, that would be my litmus test. But it is now. The way someone talks and treats their server or waitress, a flight attendant, anyone, that is a huge indicator to me on your character, your behavior, your own moral compass. And a lot of these guys talk down to a lot of people, and you know, within the organization that I came from, that were in the customer service section. Very demanding, very, without getting too gritty into it, a little nasty with people.
There's also folks that are so invisible you don't even acknowledge them, you know?
100%. The day that I was announced as the chief operations officer, there was a little party. Threw a little get together, drinks, hors d'oeuvres, you know, what you think, you know, close your eyes and think about somebody being announced to be an executive. It was exactly that. But I found myself being pulled more towards the janitors and the other people in the organization. Like, I had a lot more common ground with them, you know, the hardworking blue collar folks, because my job as a leader is to build security and stability and provide direction, you know, all the way down for the lower level folks. I don't really know where I'm going with that besides rambling, but
I guess, and I should do my job a little bit here too and say, Mikey was and we have to say all the names because it's not like the SEALs where you can just say, he was a SEAL. You have to say he was an SF guy, which is really nomenclature for a Green Beret, which is really a nickname for a long tabber, which is really a nickname for a U.S. Army Special Operations operator from an ODA, an Operational Detachment A-Team.
yeah.
Not the A-Team, but, you know, an A-Team of sorts, right? So And your job within that field specifically was as a medic, which, by the way, I hope Freddy is feeling better by the time, and
Yeah.
maybe he hears it. We saved a life today, or at least helped a life from expiring. Team, I like to say Orange County First Team, first responders, we respond first. Because the first aid is self-aid, but then there's the folks that stand around. And luckily, we were able to stand around and help this guy, and then actual first responders got their third. And I love first responders. I just like to say that shit. But as an SF guy, as a Green Beret, you are pushed to a different standard with character. You have to have some tolerance for that UCLA kid that, the biggest stress in his life was getting out of high school with the 1,500 or above on his thing and make sure he does some charity work. Not out of a charitable charter, but out of a need to become a Bruin. We're not knocking UCLA.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you get that kid to realize that?
I don't think you can ever really get someone to realize it. Life, experience, time. It's kind of like making a diamond, right? You need some pressure and some time, some life experience, and the kid will realize it. But I mean, for me, it wasn't about making anyone realize anything, or wasn't any type of contest of measuring, achievements amongst each other. It was more of basic human decency of communicating and treating others just kindly. That was it. Like, it's the same team. Why are you beating down employee X for X behavior? Why aren't you training, coaching, mentoring, supporting,
How old
that
are these
person?
guys?
Oh man, everywhere but, from 25 years old all the way up to, 67-year-olds.
So in your line of work specifically, and we'll say doctrinally, just to kind of give some context, you are obliged to deal with whoever's sitting across the campfire from you.
Culture doesn't matter.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. And your job is to take someone where they're at and get them to a place beyond that. Not to your standard, not to American standard, but just how do we get you from here to this impossible other here? And that cannot make sense to any major brand. There's no way.
It can't, because the why just isn't great enough. Creating a why behind a brand is backwards in my mind. There has to be a why, then the brand.
Okay.
Which is a great segue into the next part.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, working with this, the number 11th brand in the world, the why just wasn't great enough for me to wake up every morning and put in 65, 70 hours a week and just grind away for them. Just to do what? Build more wealth?
Yeah.
It just wasn't there. And so, eventually I just reached a point to where I was just dissatisfied with my quality of life and just didn't look forward to going to work every day. And that was a very new feeling for me, extremely new feeling, not happy about going to work. But I left because I got the backing of I got the backing of several, very wealthy people in Hollywood that were providing money to veterans charities.
Right.
And the overarching goal was to not just give money to veterans, right? We created a venture capital fund called Redacted VC. And through there, instead of them just giving their money away and burning it, they can actually invest their money, and we can train, coach, mentor, provide a quality of life for veterans and help them build companies. And it's not just, hey, not like a Shark Tank where we're going to buy your company and I'll show you. It's you pay for the resources that you need to go to the next level. The end. The max that Redacted VC to date will ever take of an organization is 25, 30% max. We don't want to own it. We want to help you build a quality of life and build something that's sustainable for you and other veterans.
What kind of projects have you guys taken on then? What kind of things have you backed?
So Redacted VC has several different projects underneath it. Number one, we have TIC, Troops in Contact, which is a veterans app. You guys will see it come out very, very soon. And the goal of the app is to do several things. One, tackle the suicide issue. And I know everybody's doing that. We're going to do it in a very unique way. And I don't want to spoil that just yet. It also helps veterans find employment through vetted resources that we go out and personally vet these organizations that they actually have a strong character and provide a why for veterans. Predominantly organizations like Rolls-Royce Manufacturing, we were just there this last week and we did some speaking. The majority of their employees are actually veterans. And you actually get to build technology that still impacts the guys on the ground. So you still have direct ties to your former life.
Right.
And the culture there is very strong. The people were phenomenal. They gave us a tour through the plant. They're just very kind people, very intelligent. There's a Yelp component to the app, which is more so based upon the VA system. You don't know which doctors are good or which providers are good. And now peer-to-peer, peer reviews can actually show veterans which doctors to go to. I really wish I would have had that when I got out. The doctor that I saw for the first time down at Long Beach, where you go as well, she literally took me off of every medication that I was on and put me on different medication, and I was all screwed up for several months. And then when I went back for a follow-up, she no longer worked there. And then they put me back on the old medicine. And I wish I would have known, I wish my peers would have kind of hinted and prodded and gave me some indicators that she was a terrible physician. But long story short, it brought us here, create this app where veterans can log on there and share their opinions and provide feedback. And then also, this is something that we really want to get into the hands of the VA to provide like a feedback loop for them, because their own survey system, nobody ever takes their 20-minute survey.
Yeah.
And if we have some metrics and some, quality data to share with them, like hopefully they can change and self-correct.
Yeah, and look, let's be fair to the VA. They have an enormous and impossible program. By the way, hint, hint, on national level healthcare. It's really hard to get right.
Yes.
You can have the best people within a system that isn't allowed them to improve. And then also, like, there's folks that are just 9 to 5 in it.
Oh, and I want to be very clear. I'm not upset with the VA at all.
Yeah, right.
I get really, really, really quality healthcare from them. I get taken care of so much. It's kind of a joke in my household. I refer to the VA as the helicopter mom. Once every 2 to 3 days, they'll call and ask if I need anything. And I'm actually really impressed.
Reminders of your appointments, mail in several different formats, text messages. Yes.
Yeah.
They are my best friend.
The VA system isn't completely broken.
Right.
It's just, but how can we enhance it?
There is this problem. I had a second hernia surgery, and I never talked to my doc post-op either time.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the last time I sat down, and the guy looked at me straight face and said, "First time here, post-op from a VA surgery." And I'm like, "No, I'm here for a post-op check-in. Let me read your file." And he read my file, and I'm like, "Seriously?" And I said, "I have this pain, like you guys were jamming the other end of the scope or something up under my belly right here." And he's like, "That's not what they do." I'm like, "Great. I have this pain. It's not bad. It's like a muscular kind of pain, but why? It's straight up and out, very linear, not a natural pain. You're a medic, like something right here, like what's going on right here?" And then they checked out the left side. What did you find? I had to guide the whole conversation and got half-assed, so I wouldn't give that 1 star, but I would say, hey, it should be that at least the person has read my file and can actually give me some insight. Really, but I have no idea anything about anything.
I'd say 80% of my appointments over there go phenomenal. I'm in and out with medicine in under an hour.
Yeah.
And they do a great job. But, occasionally, like, I'll run into the doctor that doesn't look up from the computer screen because they're too busy typing doggone notes.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Hello, I'm a person. Hello, will you talk to me?"
Yeah.
And they just fill out this logarithm. Occasionally it gets a little wonky.
The other thing is we have a fantastic facility in Long Beach. There's no doubt. And it's one of the leading ones in the nation. However, it is a teaching hospital. And so for me, when I go in for my PTSD, which is my prime problem, not that my joints aren't a problem, but it is my prime thing. And I look at a doctor, and it's a new doctor every 3 months because they rotate out. And I look at them, and they're like, "You have insomnia." And I'm like, "Read my file. I don't have insomnia. If anything, I have depression. I can't get out of it." And so these are the big problems. So something like that is definitely going to help. So within Redacted is the name?
Yeah,
of it?
Redacted.
Within
Venture
Redacted,
Capital.
the VC, you're working on these kind of problems. Are these all like? Is the idea like if I pitch you and I say I have nothing to do with veteran things, I'm going to make wooden toys for kids at Christmas time like Santa Claus. Do you guys back something like that, or does it have to have a veteran mission?
We won't back it at all. We will refer you out to some buddies that we know. But in all reality, like our mission is to, and yes, we're very picky. It's all about not just veterans, combat veterans. Combat veterans that are disabled get priority. And it's all about teaching them how to grow and scale a business from an idea that they're creating. And most of these guys are creating, most of the businesses that we're invested in right now are creating solutions to enhance, combat readiness or increased capability or capacity for the units that they came from.
Yeah, interesting. You're also working on, look, you always have several irons in the fire. So maybe we'll get into the writing stuff later on, but right now you're working on something that's been a passion of yours for 65 years, I'm told.
Not 65 years, but
65 years. 65 years when I was a young lad.
no. So the project that I've been working on, which is Mojo Riot, which is a company, and a lot of people find it to be a bit edgy.
MojoRiot.com, right?
Yeah, mojo-riot.com. And the website's a bit edgy. There's a warning for you. Don't let your kids go on there. But it's a 100% disabled veteran-owned company. All employees that are involved in the organization are combat veterans or disabled veterans. And that's one thing about veterans, mainly combat veterans. They have a very dark, wonky sense of humor. And that's kind of what the website's all about. And to tie it back into where we started, me leaving the organization I used to work for and branching out and doing this, the whole goal was to rebuild that culture that's lost.
Yeah.
And so Mojo Riot, yeah, it's offensive to some, but that's really a veterans culture organization, and we're tackling several problems. One is this target idea that I had. It's been rattling around in my head for about 2 years, been playing with it. And we created the first ever 3D target that weighs less than a pound. And it's not made out of cardboard. It's durable. It's all weather. It can withstand negative 17 degrees all the way up to 600 degrees. That was created, in my mind for several reasons. One, I spent 20 years in the military, and there's a lot of days that you don't get to pick when you shoot, and it's raining, it's snowing, it's cold, it's wet. And I got tired of lugging wet, soggy cardboard and paper off the range. That shit gets heavy.
It's heavy, yeah, yeah.
And it gets old, and it reduces, the effectiveness of the training. You lose a lot. And then two, like when I was in, special forces, we'd have to buy like 27 different types of targets so we could have this angle or this, paper Stanley downrange. Now you can create your own, right? He's literally a platform for training. You can put an adult-sized small shirt on him. He solves all kinds of problems. But
yeah, the thing with shooting too is when you think about shooting at a range, it is good that you have a weapon in your hand, that you have live ammo, and that you're shooting towards something. But that's really where the training value stops. I was taught that you should walk in place, get your heart rate up, and then try to shoot while you're walking, because a lot of times you're on the move when you're shooting, or the other person's moving.
Yeah.
And hitting a person like that at an angle, and this again, it was the three-dimensional part. Like if you were running across my front in some angle, people always say, why don't cops shoot people in the arm? Try shooting just the side silhouette of a human. And it is really hard.
Yeah, a profile shot's extremely difficult. Low percentage shooting.
Yeah.
Guys try to replicate it out on the range by pulling, folding the target back in half over itself, right, or, pacing the white side over another target. That really doesn't cut it because it's still two-dimensional. You're not working angles. And the other piece that kind of really ticked me off too was all these years training on a range. And, I was an assaulter with a very prestigious unit. So being an assaulter in special forces, you were shooting typically black silhouettes or a cartoon. And the cartoon was never life size, right? So he's on a 36-inch long piece of paper, 24 inches wide, but he may already be in a picture down an alley, or the picture is distorted. It's not to scale.
Right.
Right. So you're losing training value with these low percentage, wonky, weird targets that are two-dimensional. And so that really reduced, training efficiency. And now I've got to carry 16 different types of targets.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, it wasn't effective. It wasn't cost effective. And it was really, really annoying to have to carry around this giant box of rolled up paper. Yeah, and the other piece too that's extremely frustrating is, besides having a distorted picture, right, all these cartoon targets you can go on LA Police Gear or LA Action Target and buy, besides having a distorted target, it's either a black silhouette or some sort of bullseye, right? Like all my time downrange, there was never a bullseye on bad guys.
No.
Yeah. There's never we joke with inside Mojo Riot and the guys, we joke like nobody gives a shit about your A-zone hits. That's IPSC shooting. Nobody cares about A-zones.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like after a gunfight you walk up to a guy and you go, oh man, those were all A-zone. Good job, Dave. Like, no, that never happens.
And sometimes you hit the target, it doesn't go bing, Yeah, and sometimes it turns and wields on you, and you're like, oh shit, I better keep shooting this thing.
And our whole purpose with these targets is not to have bleeders, not to have a target that indicates where you hit, because we don't want you to do Kentucky windage and fire and adjust and fire and adjust. What we want you to do is train on instinctive reflexive firing, because a pistol or a rifle is purely a life-saving device. Instinctive reflexive firing. And we don't want you chasing your shots. Put a T-shirt on Hans. You can go to the dollar store or whatever, and you can get a cheap T-shirt, spray over them, and you can shoot Hans for weeks.
And Hans is the target.
Yeah, Hans Gruber is the target. Yeah, the ultimate bad guy.
Yes.
It's Christmas time, so we just picked Hans Gruber. He's, his East German ways. He's just a really, really, really good person to shoot.
Right.
So, yeah, instinctive reflexive firing. Don't chase your shots. Don't follow your shots. Your whole goal of shooting is to shoot until you get desired results, 5, 8 rounds, whatever that is. The desired results of you pulling a pistol or rifle out ever is to put enough holes inside of whatever the threat is to reduce their blood pressure below 60 systolic, to stop their brain from perfusing, deanimate them, and the end. That's the whole purpose of shooting.
Then render aid, if possible.
Yes, depending on the state.
Of course.
In the People's Republic, you better.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a lot of things. I want to bring in a couple of different angles on this just to get your thoughts, because since we last spoke, I've brought in some very interesting questions that I bring to operators, folks that actually have combat time. Because our form of wisdom, look, as you know, ethics change as soon as you get to the combat zone. It's just different rules. It's at the base, it's you versus me. Not in our case specifically, but your adversary or you. And that's we're all trying to work from that basic
Us versus
premise.
them.
Us versus them. And yet, a lot of times we're co-belligerents, not antagonist belligerents. We are competing for a different... Anyhow, I had Ty Smith on, Ty's a SEAL, and we were talking about school shootings and, arming teachers and that kind of thing. And I would submit that to be a teacher proficient enough to shoot in that extremely complicated environment across unknown distances, it would take, I would estimate, 500 hours, once you're proficient, 500 hours a year to maintain. These are kids, right, running around.
Yeah.
And if it's not 500, it's more than 100 hours of shooting. And then he talked about driving the weapon, right? And I know you guys, you resonate with that. Like, this is not shooting. Like, I am in control of where these bullets go. I'm not shooting unless, I know, like, I've got a shot.
I know what's in line and
Right.
behind.
This is not suppressive
target.
fire. This is specific targeted fire.
Surgical precision.
Right. Is it less than 500, more than 500?
It's way more.
Right.
It's way more. And, not to politicize any of this, I don't think teachers should be armed. Right. I just personally don't. I think that there are enough veterans that have these skills in America that we could employ veterans or other people, like obviously after some sort of background check.
Sure, of course.
And some sort of, schooling. There are enough people that are proficient with firearms in this country that we don't need to take teachers away from their primary duties.
Let me ask you this, as someone who's an expert in asymmetric warfare, what is the proper weapon? What is the weapon that would make you stop and go, not this school, another school? Is it a carbine with a sidearm? Is it a shotgun? What's going to make you rethink and find a different target? Because that's really what we want.
So the organization that I worked for in the past used to do big events regularly on a weekly basis.
Right.
And so my advice to them was you just have to make yourself a hard target. The community has to get involved. It's a community problem.
Right.
The police, the fire department, and the medical services all have to get together, do rehearsals, do dry runs, show people that they're prepared, because there's several layers before somebody conducts an attack. There's the rumination phase, the planning phase, and then, if you can stop anybody in that planning phase or rumination phase, showing that you're a hard target and they're not going to get the mass trauma or casualties that they think they're going to get.
Yeah.
Just make yourself a hard target. That doesn't mean you need to put concertina wire in front of your school. That means doing regular checks, having, security guards, people that are overt security and overt rehearsals, and publicize the crap out of it. Yeah. And just, and have a really, really tight check-in, check-out systems for visitors, single door entrance for visitors, single exit, things like that. I mean, it doesn't need to be TSA heavy security. We just need to be a little bit more conscious about it and a lot more wise and focus efforts towards making this a community problem and everybody pitching in and doing regular rehearsals, making it a hard target. That's a long way to say making it a hard target.
Yeah, well, but making it a hard target's not a good enough answer, quite frankly. And then this thing about advertising it. One of the things I always push as a guy that focuses on affect over effect. You can go have 100 exercises, which you're not going to do. It's expensive, but you need to invite the local parents. Hey, be my guest.
Everybody
come in here for 4 hours. We're going to do this. I want you to be you can't. Okay, then I'm going to grab another parent, and you're going to get parents that come in and go, holy shit, these guys are really doing this, and then that's going to push them, and you know about this. That'll push the message out to the community. This is really,
I
quit
think
making it a secret.
This is a great discussion here. So I think that's probably a 70 or 80% solution, because I mean, you look at a lot of these kids that have committed these atrocities in the last 15 years. A lot of them were latchkey kids. Parents were disengaged. Like, there needs to be a lot more sense of community. Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great that we're going to hold these meetings and do things, but the community as a whole needs to provide some sort of, I don't know where I'm going with this, but need to provide some sort of resource for these kids that are kind of socially and familially left out of things, right? Like, they have no ties, they have no bond. It goes back to that why, right? These kids need a why. And, sports have become pay to play today. It's all, the high school teams aren't the greatest. It's the travel ball or whatever organization.
And there's no pickup ball.
There's no pickup ball. American Legion was, pickup ball. Yeah. And it's dead. I mean.
Or just like unsupervised, like I'll be at the school and you just know you could always find 20 dudes.
And the state of California, I'm just going to get on my soapbox for a moment. The amount of minimum days that they have, which is a day where they let the kids out early, they're through the roof. And, these teacher in-service days, like, I can get on my list, but throughout the school year, it's like almost 60 days. The kids are out of school, and parents have to work because
like forced latchkey plus.
Yeah. And so now we're idle hands make trouble. Yeah. And so there's not a lot of resources out there for kids.
Do you have hard feelings toward your last organization? I'm not trying to put you on the spot to name them or nothing. But
no, I really don't. I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I had.
It was just never a good fit.
It was just our personalities just weren't aligned. Our why statements weren't aligned.
I can identify with that.
Yeah. And so, that's one thing with our app. Like, you'll see, so it's kind of part of the charity that we're working on, but that's way too many. Okay. Like, this guy's crazy. He's doing 900 things. VetsLA.com. So, all right, you ready?
Yeah.
So, honestly, I mean, I was kind of part of the statistics leaving my old organization, right? That why statement. 78% of veterans quit their initial job within the first year.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
78% of veterans quit their initial job within the first year.
I was going to ask you, did you make it 18 months?
Here in LA, across the country, there's 3 million post 9/11 vets. 12% of, right now, 12% non-active duty vets are unemployed. 36%, but the crazy part is 12% of them are unemployed, but 36% of them all have bachelor's degrees or higher.
Right.
And 90% of those 3 million receive VA benefits. I mean, there's just a lot going on here.
And that's a good point. Like, there's a lot of capability coming out. But again, so Google puts out a thing where you put your MOS in and it tells you what kind of jobs are available. And it's laughable. Here's one of the smartest companies in the world. I put in 97 Bravo and it's like security guard. I'm like, that's the best you got?
Same thing for me. Yeah. Even with advanced degrees, getting out of the military, they're like, you could be a security guard, a police officer, an FBI agent. Like, I can't do anything else. That's all.
It.
That's all. Yeah,
because like you, I was sick of the threat, death, combat world. I've had my fill. Thank you. I appreciate it. Someone else can go do that for a while. I wanted to ask you this question too when we talk about this, and this is just the question I've been asking veterans in general. So this is not really on topic, but I am all about females being able to go into combat. You don't have to agree with me on this, but from my experience, I've seen women rack rounds in 50 cal, stand in turrets, go on patrols, and just go out and do the goddamn job. And there's a lot of folks that don't think that that's possible. But, dude, I've seen them. So I don't know where you're at on that, but what are your thoughts?
Dude, I'm a little bit ahead of you on this.
Okay.
In 2016, a buddy of mine, one of my mentors, Johnny B, we actually helped put together a training program for this really, really athletic, extremely intelligent, PhD level intelligent female who wanted to become an 18 X-ray enlisted.
That's a special forces off the street. Like, you don't have a medic, communicator, engineer kind of job. You're in the program and you will find a job. But yeah, right.
Yep, you're a candidate. Yeah, we trained her up. I don't want to mention her name, but I hope she's listening. And she did really well until she got really seriously hurt.
Which happens to everybody.
It happens to everyone. But yeah, like, I fully support it. If you can meet the standard, do it. The standard is the standard, and there's no deviation.
So physically, the standard, I'm going to be honest and say, a lot of times the standard is outdated. I have been exhausted on a patrol once where I'm like, I hope nothing happens right now. Once out of a lot of patrols. And that was because we had a cock-hungry lieutenant, and I'm saying cock-hungry for sure, who wanted to go up the steepest part of every fucking hill he could find in Afghanistan and just completely wear his team out. And it was foolish, So I've never been on a patrol like that where they purposely picked these hard things for no fucking purpose other than to show off how fit they were.
Yeah.
Stupid, bad leadership. Other than that, I've never had to do PT on a patrol. I've never had to do push-ups, all that kind of thing. And when you meet an obstacle, you get over it as a team. You get over it at the pace that you get over it at, all these things. So if we lean on the standard, I mean, the standard might have to be modified for what we're doing nowadays. Not because of females, but because of the actual mission that we do.
I don't think so. I think if you tailor the standard for the operations of today, you're going to lose all the history of yesterday, right? Like the long, the LRPs, right? The long distance patrolling from Vietnam.
Right.
If we continue on with this, I hop off a helicopter, I run 500 feet, do the assault, get back on the helicopter. I mean, what is it going to become, like a football player type standard where it's literally just quick, short bursts of energy and then away you go? We really do have to focus back more on the endurance, the long grind, 15, 20 mile rucks. Like, I hated them. Yeah. But I look back and I'm like, man, I'm glad I do them. What's sitting on my front porch right now?
Yeah, you do. You have one.
I have a ruck because, like, it's something that you just need to do from time to time and just grind.
What's more important, that the person can do the job or that the person can do the PT test?
The person can do the job. But there's a hybrid to that, right?
Sure, for sure.
As my good friend Roger always says, everything in moderation, including moderation. And I think that's the same way with the standard. You can't just be a complete standards.
It needs to be a challenge to get through the process, for sure.
Exactly. And then it has to be a rite of passage, and there has to be some, trials and tribulations. But you can weed out people without the physical piece. When I was doing stuff with GoRuck, I literally could put people in a field for an hour. I could make everybody quit within an hour if I wanted to.
Right.
But that's not the goal.
And that's not leadership.
Yeah, it's not leadership. What are they learning? Just to get their teeth kicked in?
Right.
It just sucks to suck sometimes, and you just got to do it. But endurance is a big piece of it, though, to me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you're out on these long walks and these long grinds, like, your demons start to bubble up and surface, and you need to know that you have somebody who's mentally strong enough to be able to face their own demons.
Right.
Occasionally. In the long, quiet walk of the night, their feet hurt, their back hurts, they're hungry, they're tired. Like, you need to know that person's able to face their own demons to be able to be there to support you. That's it. The end.
Yeah.
The end.
And can females meet that not the specific standard of 18 miles in this much time, but can females meet that standard where they meet their demon and we know that they're able to do it?
I have no doubt that there are females that can do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ronda Rousey's way fucking tougher than I am. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure she is.
Right. And then when you look at the warriors you want to surround yourself with, again, not to be physically unfit, but what would you rather have? Someone who's hyper fit or someone who's hyper adaptive?
It's in the middle, right?
Okay.
It's somewhere in the middle. Like, you can't be staunch on either side. I mean, there are certain units where, they're shock and awe troops, like, Ranger Battalion, where you've got to be just a beast all day, every day.
Right.
The SEALs, they're in the water, swimming, running, all that stuff. Like, their mission set requires that, right? I'm not saying you can be a complete fat ass or a blob, but, in special forces, the relationships are the most important piece.
Right.
Leveraging relationships is more important than PT.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fair. And I'm not saying that the female thing is hard. What I am saying is that when people say females get hurt more often than men in combat, likely true, but who doesn't get hurt? Like, what person goes and does 2 deployments and doesn't come back with some kind of significant lifelong injury? Like, if you're going to go outside the camp, you're going to break your body.
100%. You're an endurance extreme sport athlete.
Right.
You're going to get broke down. You're going to get beat up. There's bumps, bangs. You're going to fall off a fast rope, fall downstairs. You're going to get blown up. There's going to be concussions. There's going to be, stitches. Like, it's a pretty abrasive lifestyle. This is the best way to say it. It's an abrasive lifestyle. And
if a woman wants to sign up and stand next to me, and here's my standard, as long as you're either a pro or willing to shut up and become one, you can roll with me anytime you want.
The end.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get past that stuff, and let's get into, you do a lot of different things, right? I want to get into your charity because you're also doing that, and why the fuck do you take on so many goddamn things? Why not do one thing perfectly or well or mastered?
I saw a buddy the other day. He put it in perfect words.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening, like I give you credit. So,
by the way, Mikey already has a master's degree. He's got his Harvard shirt on, right? You already have a master's, yes. Okay, and you're getting another one right now.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous, but.
By the way, he's also basically a physician's assistant because he's an SF medic. So, yeah, why?
Honestly, the degrees is from, I want to be better at helping veterans build a quality of life. I want to help out the bros that are coming up, that are building businesses, small businesses, laundromats, everything. Like, I want to be a resource and a tool to help the guys out. And like, why do I take on so much? Because I'll be honest with you, like, people that are listening and know me, like, if I am bored, I will literally burn everything in my life to the ground. If I am bored, like most SF guys, I will literally start burning relationships from the inside out. And so I got to keep myself extremely busy, overwhelmed, and juggling 80,000 things in the air.
Fascinating. So, though I don't have a long tab on my shoulder, right? We do these things, mm-hmm. right? My friend said, why don't you just go get a job at X? And I'm like, because I will do stupid, unpredictable, self-destructive shit. I will ruin that life. And I don't know what it is about guys like us, but I would rather, one, be untethered. I don't want your fucking rules. You give me a challenge. Like I always say, like, if it's hard work, that's the only barrier between me and that. Done.
Yeah.
I'll outwork that problem in a second. So is that just how we're wired? Is that just our DNA?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question, and I wish I had the answer. I just know that if I'm bored, I'm like a Molotov cocktail with a lighter next to it, and I'm just ready to burn. And I think it just has to come from how busy our lives were, how complex our lives were for so long that we don't want to rest, and we feel unproductive because we've done so much at such a rapid pace for so long that if we're not moving at light speed and we don't have 60,000 things going on at once, we feel unproductive, and then we start feeling negative, and then this negative self-talk happens, and it just it's the catalyst to the burning everything to the ground.
But you don't go the David Goggins route where you're like, I'm just going to run beyond what's humanly normal and responsible. You go in more of a project mode.
Yeah, I go into project mode, helping other people, like really wanting to, I don't know, kind of give / kind of atone for things. Yeah. That makes sense. Like,
do you have guilt?
No, I have no guilt. Okay. I feel bad for a lot of veterans, right? Like when I retired, you join, you stand on this line, they shave your head, they give you clothes, they tell you how to talk, they tell you what to do, and you just, like Forrest Gump, you just yell, "Yes, drill sergeant," and you're indoctrinated from that point on. But when you go to retire, you go to like a 5-day class, and they give you a stack of papers that's like the old Encyclopedia Britannicas from the 90s, right? And you get that whole volume. Yeah. They're kind of like, good luck. And there's a lot of guys that, due to head injuries or just due to, low education, they just don't have the opportunities to kind of see their own self-worth, be able to have this transliteration guide to be able to translate what they did in the military to the civilian world, the hard skills and soft skills. They just lack and overall awareness of what the civilian world is.
There's also the proximity problem. We're fortunate that we were drawn here to Southern California, where there's major leagues for so many businesses. Your former employer, obviously Hollywood, which has all kinds of high-end folks doing high-end money. And quite often, like, I don't know if you know Jeff Bosley, but he's a long tabber. And he will outwork any other actor. You know, Nate Boyer will come prepared and know his lines already. Mark Valley, who's a West Point grad and an established actor, like, knowing my lines. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know your lines too. What's up, buddy? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that part. But if you don't have this opportunity where there's so much industry and you tether your, I was going to say anchor, if you tether yourself to DC, you're going to be forced to stay more in that contract mode. And it's hard to break out of that mold to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
How does someone who's transitioning, whether they're military, and let's even just bring it into the civilian side, if someone's sitting there at their desk, at their cube, at their fucking job, they're like, another goddamn day, knowing full well 200 days later, they'll be sitting in the same fucking job. How do those folks responsibly make that leap to fucking making targets in their garage like you're doing?
All right.
Because what you're doing is possible.
Yeah. It
Less than
is.
10 grand and you've got a business started.
Yeah. And you're working with your buddies and having a good time.
Yeah.
So let me start off with this. First off, don't quit your job.
Okay.
All right. That's revenue coming into you and your family. You need it. Start out slowly. I literally had this conversation with a girl that she works in IT at Compton City College yesterday.
Okay.
She was kind of in the same boat. I hate my job. I hate my life. I kind of miserable with what I do. My coworkers, they don't respect me. It's just constant, strife every day at work. And I was like, okay, so here's what you do. You're really competent at what you do. She was very competent. She could explain to me, how to fix several different, level 1 and 2 kind of IT problems. And I said, well, go out and find a small business that, like my business, that needs some help. And do that on the side. Just baby step. Just grow something very incrementally, slowly in your garage with very little risk. Don't start a business if you've never started a business and put your house up to back your business or, anything that's going to put your family at risk. Just slowly, incrementally grow it. Start with one client as a little side hustle, kind of like if you're an Uber driver, but you're working for yourself. Starting a company is very easy. Go get the book, Startups for Dummies. Literally, you don't need to get a master's degree from Harvard or Pepperdine in business. Just go get that book, and it's literally step by step everything they teach in business school. The recipe's simple. Just
and it's
hard
known.
work. Yeah. And it's proven time and time again.
Someone who's sitting in Abilene, Kansas, and they want to do something else, but they don't want to leave their home. They love where they're at. They're in the heartland, and they're happy. And the same thing applies where, they just don't have the connections like you guys might provide with your thing. What do they do? How do they get that connection, at least virtually?
Let's start with the veterans bucket first, right? If you're a veteran, you can easily go to, they call it the VBOC, the Veterans Business Operations Center, something like that. It's usually at the county clerk's office. So go to the VBOC and they will help walk you through. They'll prepare your documents if you're a veteran, cradle to grave. They even have the Boots for Business course, which is just a sprinkling of what business is. Be very careful with that. Don't get overconfident. But you can start there and find resources. There's actually small business initiatives in every county as well. Small business office. It's all federally mandated. There's tons of grants and opportunities out there. There's free money for you to start businesses. And I was telling my buddy the other day who was like, hey, I'm tired of working for Company X. I want to do this. In California, there's actually a $250,000 grant. Doesn't have to be paid back for disabled veterans to start a franchise. In his little small town, I was telling him, like, dude, why are you going to create kind of a blue ocean concept where that's never existed?
Right.
Why not do a franchise, dude? Why
85% success rate.
Why not do a Taco Bell? Everybody loves Taco Bell. You'll get all the drunkards there between midnight and 4.
Yeah.
Like, dude, everybody wants a chalupa when they're drunk. So, and now he's kind of pursuing that avenue where he's actually going to open up his own restaurant with this grant. It didn't cover all the funds, but he was able to get other investors and other things. Sure. He's still part owner of something, and he's driving his own future instead of piggybacking on someone else. It's scary. Mm-hmm. It's scary doing your own thing.
And hard.
It's hard. It's a lot of work. You're not just going to wake up and money's going to fall into your bank account. You got to grind and You know, get mentors and buddies that are successful at business. A lot of people that are very, very successful in business mentor you. Like my mentor right now, I'm going to give him a huge shout out, Mark Manzo, the president of Alley Financial. Mark's been my mentor for a while. He teaches me about business. I teach him how to shoot, and it works out.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy, and you know, he's my sanity check, and occasionally I get to be his sanity check. And find yourself a mentor, and these guys want mentors.
Yeah.
Especially these big time names like
They want mentees.
They want mentees. Sorry, they want to be a mentor. And so it's very lonely when you're at the top and you're in a company. You don't get to vent, you know, complaints go up, not down when you're on the top. And so it's great for them to have mentees in order to like have as a sounding board and kind of talk about concepts and ideas and bounce ideas off of that they normally couldn't do in the office. Literally, you know, make a list of I thought it was a joke. My buddy told me to do this before I retired. Make a list of 25 people that you want to know in the world and just shoot them an email.
Yeah.
And explain who you are, be very thorough, you know,
Yeah.
and what you're looking for. And a lot of these guys and gals really want to help out and support people.
At some level. Maybe they're just like, wish you well if you ever need anything.
Yeah, hey,
sure.
Exactly.
What it isn't is Mr. Burns with a tank full of manatees and mentees going, right?
Yeah,
it's
nothing
really,
like that at all.
They truly do want to help. And if you're not their mentee, that's fine. Because there are thousands of these people that you would like to get lessons from, for sure. What have you picked up in the last year?
One, know where you came from and always be loyal to it. Be loyal to the culture that you come from. Don't try to be something you're not, right? Like I left spec ops in the military and tried to become some executive type, and that didn't fit my personality at all. Be loyal down before you're loyal up, regardless of where you're at.
Okay.
Always take care of those people below you. And when I just say take care of them, it's not just wish them well or get them a birthday card. It's literally like this agape Latin type of love where you pour yourself into your subordinates, right?
Agape would be Greek love, by the way.
Is it? Sorry, it's Greek. Is it Greek?
That's all right.
Sorry. All right.
I got you on this one. You'll get me in the next one.
Thanks, buddy. All right. So you want to be a servant leader, and you want to just not give everything to your employees and just be like this, you know, doormat, but be grateful for what they do to you because you have your position off of their back. And that's more so apparent in the civilian world than the military. Because in the military, like these guys are just given to you and they can't go anywhere until they get orders. In the civilian world, these people can come and go as they please and they have tons of options and they're very talented people. So you really do have to take the time to, you know, mentor and really build like some emotional reciprocity with your subordinates. A lot of people overlook that.
Emotional reciprocity. That's great.
Ooh, you like that.
Regrets.
I shouldn't have resigned as soon as I did. I should have had footings a little bit tighter. I was a lot of bit anxious to kind of get the next chapter started and get things going for myself and the culture that I wanted, that I missed and I longed for. If I could have waited another couple months, that was probably another $15,000, $20,000 in the bank that could have helped things out, but didn't do it.
Did you learn the lesson?
I learned the lesson. That's why the first thing I said was, when you have this great idea, don't quit. Really build a solid business plan and find a mentor and really run it to ground and shake it out before you really commit and do it. And as you build your new idea or your new business, really slowly, incrementally grow it. Don't put your house on the line. Don't put your family at risk. Just slowly, incrementally grow it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's a great hour. I love doing it.
That was an hour?
Yep. 55 minutes and 3 seconds.
Whoa, that was easy.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do. Thank you.